Now see here in electron transport chain. Now I told you there is a summary reaction which I will show you now. See, the biological oxidation, what does it mean? See, that means what we eat in our diet is either made up of carbohydrate, fat or protein. The end product of carbohydrate metabolism is glucose, end product of fats is fatty acids, and end product of proteins is amino acids. So let it be any of these food component what we are eating as macronutrients. So it gets utilized in the body and finally it will be passing through series of steps. For example, glycolysis for carbohydrates, okay, beta oxidation of fatty acids for fatty acid chain, that is the breakdown of fatty acids, okay, and for amino acids also we have breakdown of individual amino acids what we have seen, glycine, phenylalanine, tryptophan, each and every amino acid will undergo complete breakdown to give energy, ATP. Along with that, you will see carbon dioxide and water will be produced. So, for the conversion of these food components into ATP, series of steps would be taking place. If you just consider glycolysis, which is quite easy, so many NADs and so many FADs will be involved, isn't it, during the reaction? That means the removal of hydrogen is nothing but oxidation. The acceptance of the hydrogen is reduction. If you talk in the terms of the transfer of hydrogen ions are nothing but electrons. Okay, you are finding NAD and FAD are converted to NADH and NADH2. That means the reduction is taking place here. Okay, and again this hydrogen ion will be combining with the oxygen molecule to form water. During this series of steps, finally what happens is ADP is coupled with high energy phosphate to form ATP. I hope you are understanding. Please stop me if you don't understand. So this is actually what is the meaning of biological oxidation. That means the biological food products what we are eating is finally converted to ATP. Okay. So and during this oxidation reduction reactions are taking place in the form of conversion of NAD to NADH, FAD to FADH and so on. Finally, ADP will be coupled with high energy phosphate to form ATP. Okay, so this is what is called as biological oxidation. Okay, that's what is asked, isn't it? So components of now basically when you know this, so now see here for the transfer of electrons, the chain which is occurring is ETC, that is nothing but electron transport chain. This is the overview. Now let us see where is this electron transport chain occurring. We know electron transport chain is occurring inside the mitochondria. Okay, let us see the definition. See, the energy rich carbohydrates, fatty acids, amino acids, they undergo series of metabolic reactions and finally they get oxidized to carbon dioxide and water. This is what I have shown you. They are finally getting oxidized to carbon dioxide and water. Okay, then the reducing equivalents from various metabolic intermediates, they are transferred to concentrated ready to produce respectively NADH. Okay, now you see AH2. You can just like correlate this with glycolysis cycle. Okay, how many NADs, how many FADs are involved, isn't it? So you will see NADs and FADs, they are just getting converted to NADH and FADH2. Okay, so these are later to reduced coenzymes. I told you receiving of hydrogen is reduction. That's the reason FADH2, NADH2 are called as reduced coenzymes. They pass through electron transport chain or respiratory chain and finally they reduce oxygen. That means oxygen is receiving hydrogen and it is getting reduced and you will see the formation of water molecule. Okay, beta? And during this process, you will see the ADP, adenosine diphosphate, is coupled with high energy phosphate to form ATP. Okay, so this is what. Now see, I will, all these steps, so many he has depicted for us, but more or less all are same only. I will show you the basic thing first so that I will take you to these pictures later. We know electron transport chain is taking place inside the mitochondrial matrix because we have all essential coenzymes available for the transport of electrons for this reduction to take place inside the mitochondria. Okay, these are all coenzymes. Now I will come back. Now see here what is happening. I want everyone to learn about this multi-protein complexes in electron transport chain. Okay, so what is happening? Suppose there is a substrate. Now, Ritika, what is the substrate here? Imagine everything I told you. Substrate can be either. Ritika, can you mute yourself? Beta, I'm getting some disturbance from your side. If you are answering, kindly unmute yourself, beta, so as to avoid disturbance. Now, what do you mean by substrate here, Chavi? Imad? Ritika has joined little late, no? Substrate in the sense it can be carbohydrate, it can be fatty acid, or it can be amino acid. Okay, so this substrate, now see, series of transfer of electrons, that is the reduction reaction is now taking place. You are finding NADH plus H. Okay, now it is transferring its hydrogens to FMNH2. Then you will see again it gets transferred to FES. So this multi-enzyme complex which is involved in transfer of electrons in this first step is complex 1, NADH coenzyme Q reductase. Okay, finally you are finding the electrons are now with coenzyme Q. Now you have to come the other way down now. Now when you come other way down, you have this succinate. Okay, this is also transferring electrons like FADH2. It's giving hydrogen ions to FAD, which gets converted to FADH2, which transports its electron to this coenzyme FES, that is, which transfers its electrons to coenzyme Q. So this multi-enzyme complex, which is transferring the hydrogen ions in this way, is complex 2, succinate coenzyme reductase, coenzyme Q reductase. Finally, you should write this straight line beta one by one, like straight. Now, it's nothing but transfer of hydrogen ions or transfer of electrons, which is taking place. So from coenzyme Q, they get transferred to cytochrome B, from there to FES. Okay, from there to cytochrome C1. This is handled by next enzyme complex, that is complex 3 coenzyme Q cytochrome C reductase. From here, you will see transfer of electrons to cytochrome C. From there, you will see that electrons are transferred to cytochrome A, then A2. Is it A2 or A3 beta? I think it's A3. Okay, so complex 4 cytochrome oxidase is the coenzyme involved. Finally, we know oxygen is receiving hydrogen ions. Oxygen gets reduced, right? Finally, you will see it joins with water molecule to form, it joins with hydrogen to form water molecule. Now, if you see the first step, I told you ADP is coupled with high energy phosphate to form ATP. This is what we want. Why are we eating food? To get energy, to maintain the like various cellular metabolic activities, the basal metabolic rate, BMR, whether we are at rest, whether we are at work, always we require ATP, and that is being supplied by the food source, that is carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Okay, beta. So that means you will see ADP is coupled here with high energy phosphate to form ATP, for which we require a separate multi-enzyme complex 5 in the presence of ATP synthase and flavoproteins. ADP is coupled with high energy phosphate to form ATP. Now, how many ADPs are coupled? See, this step is occurring at multi-enzyme complex 1, 3 and 4. That means 3 ADPs are coupling with 3 high energy phosphates to form 3 ATPs. This will be further simplified if you just look into this. See, this is one ATP, second ATP, third ATP. The same chain, whatever you see here, it has been opened. Substrate, substrate, NAD, NAD, FMN, FMN, then coenzyme Q. Okay, you can see coenzyme Q, cytochrome, FES, all straight way it's written here. Same thing is written in a different way. Now, at the level of FMN, that is the enzyme complex 1, we have 1 ATP. At the level of cytochrome B, again, see here, We have one more ATP. At the level of cytochrome A3, again we have one more ATP. 1, 2, 3. Complex 1, 3 and 4 will have the formation of ATP. That's the reason I have used word 3 ADPs plus 3 high energy phosphates to give 3 ATPs. Okay. Now, our part of question is also we have certain inhibitors which will not allow this electron transport chain to occur. Okay. So add a note on inhibitors and uncouplers. Okay. Inhibitors are the drugs which will not allow ATP to form. Okay, so sometimes we want to conserve energy. We don't want ATP to be generated. So in such cases, we generally make use of certain drugs to prevent the formation of ATP. So like for example, if you want to stop the production of ATP at first multi-enzyme complex 1, then we can use the drugs amytal, rotenone and pyricetin. Similarly, in order to stop the synthesis of ATP at site 2, antimycin and British anti-leviside, here full form is given. Then suppose if you want to stop at step 3, you can make use of drugs like cyanide, carbon monoxide and sodium azide. Okay. No, not only we are now asked about these inhibitors, we are now also asked about uncouplers. In fact, uncoupler word shouldn't have been asked here because oxidative phosphorylation itself is a separate answer. Okay, because here there is a theory called as chemiosmotic hypothesis, which we need to understand thoroughly in order to understand. Anyhow, it will come either as 5 marks or essay question. Then I will tell you. Here actually you will see again that same thing. If you have understood electron transport chain, you are finding the transfer of hydrogen, that is electrons, NADH plus oxygen is combining with that hydrogen ions to form water, and ADP is coupling with high energy phosphate to form ATP. Now this is stopped. This step is not occurring if you use uncouplers. Okay, uncouplers will prevent the binding of ADP with high energy phosphate to form ATP. Hope you are understanding. Okay. So prevention of ATP formation is again in a different way. Uncouplers. That means are not allowing the coupling of ADP with high energy phosphate. You have to name certain drugs. I will show you. See, uncouplers. The mitochondrial transport of electrons is tightly coupled with oxidative phosphate. Just now I told you, ADP is tightly coupled with high energy phosphate to produce ATP. Suppose if you don't want ATP formation, then you use the drug set like uncouplers. For example, one uncoupler is 2,4-dinitrophenol. Okay, we also have many more drugs like aspirin, which is uncoupler. Okay, we have certain physiological uncouplers like thermogenin, thyroxine, long chain free fatty acids. You just name them. So many are there. Okay, so that is for the part of essay, but I will discuss this answer when it comes either as 5 marks because now it becomes too long, better not required. We will learn slowly. Today you learn electron transport chain thoroughly. I told you I'll come back to other pictures also, no, in electron transport chain. You just see uh, this better. This is mitochondria, the mitochondrial matrix. These are all coenzymes which are involved in the transfer of hydrogen ions or electrons. These are flavoproteins which are concerned with the coupling of high energy phosphate with ADP plus PI to form ATP. That is ATP synthase. Okay, that is what you have to understand. Is that clear? Imad, Chavi, Ritika?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, beta. Thank you. Then we have glycogenesis and glycogenolysis in detail. Okay. And its regulation. So this has come from carbohydrate metabolism. So what is glycogenesis and what is glycogenolysis, beta?
Ma'am, glycogen is genesis is the production of glycogen from carbohydrate substrates.
Production of glycogen from dash. Glyco-
Sorry, from non-carbohydrate substrates.
no, that was gluconeogenesis, beta. You forgot little.
Okay, okay, gluconeogenesis.
Uh,
That is production of glucose, no?
yeah, from glucose only. Glycogen is
Okay.
nothing but it's a long chain of glucose molecules, right? Glucose, glucose,
Yes, ma'am.
glucose, glucose. So that means polysaccharide of glucose. Glucan it is called as. Glucan in the sense a polysaccharide which is exclusively made up of glucose molecules. Isn't it? That is glycogen. Okay. And glycogen is storage form of animal carbohydrate. That means glycogenesis is nothing but synthesis of glycogen from individual molecules of glucose. So, in order to understand glycogenesis, that is, glycogenesis means glycogen synthesis from glucosamine. Okay. Now,
Okay,
see,
ma'am.
see, this is a like polysaccharide chain. That means these boxes, whatever are seen here, these hexagons, they are actually representing one glucose molecule. I'm showing you the glucose molecules. So many are there. Are if you should I take you to carbohydrate chapter once? 1,4 and 1,6 glycosidic linkage. Do you remember that, beta? Because that is very much required now. See, introduction itself, he is showing us so much long, lengthy chain with branching, no? This actually is representing a polysaccharide that is glycogen. Okay? So, now when you see the structure of glycogen, see here, see, basically, this is suppose one glucose, another glucose. If you want, if there is a long chain, usually between glucose, there will be a bond like this. You call it as alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. It's written here. You see 1,4 alpha. Okay, that is glycosidic linkage. Now, suppose if there is branching, now see, this is our glycogen molecule. So this is glucose. Okay, when it is straight chain, you are finding 1,4 numbers. Whenever it is branching, it is 1,6. 1,6. Okay, at the branching point, you can see here, this is first carbon and sixth carbon. 1,6 glycosidic linkage. Again, when it goes straight, again it will be 1,4 only. Branching point only is shown in blue color. That means here we have 1,6 glycosidic linkage. Why I am showing you this glycogen structure now? Because if you understand this glycogen structure, automatically you will understand glucose molecules are coming and getting added one by one with the help of various enzymes. Okay, during adding you will find one enzyme, and during branching you will find one more enzyme. Finally, it will lead to the formation of a long lengthy chain of glucose molecule, which is now called as glycogen. Okay, beta. So that is reverse of glycogen synthesis. That means breakdown of glycogen is nothing but glycogenolysis. Okay. So every time this is usually a very much popular question in our university exams. Okay, beta. Every time usually it will be asked glycogenesis, glycogenolysis together. I forgot which was the. I didn't actually make a note of page number. Yeah, we are here. Okay. See here. So glucose is converted to glucose 6-phosphate in the presence of glucokinase. Here ATP is utilized. Always this kinase word comes whenever ATP is utilized. ATP is converted to ADP. Similarly, series of steps. Now glucose 6-phosphate is converted to glucose 1-phosphate. Phosphoglucomutase is the enzyme. Now UTP is coming into picture. Okay. So it is losing this high energy phosphate like UDP, glucose, pyrophosphorylase is the enzyme. See, one that means UDP is holding one glucose molecule. Now that glucose molecule is coming one by one, and the chain length is increasing. This is glycogen initiator synthase. You have to remember everything better. Okay, this is glycogen primer. That means initial chain, which is long lengthy. Okay, so 13 UDPs means 13 glucose molecules are added. Okay, now here the branching has started. So which enzyme is utilized here? Glucosyl alpha 4,6 transferase. It is branching enzyme. That means it is helping for the formation of branching pattern in the formation of glycogen. That is alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkage. So this process goes on and goes on. and it will lead to long lengthy chain of glycogen molecule, elongation by glycogen synthase, forming alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages and branching by glucosyl 4,6 transferase alpha 1,6 bonds. Okay, beta? So this is how you will see the formation of glycogen molecule. After the formation of glycogen molecule, he is also asking us glycogenolysis, right? If you have understood glycogenesis, lysis will be breakdown. This is our long lengthy chain of glycogen. Now it is, so other enzymes will work and see that it will be breaking. See, 3 in straight chain and 2 in branched chain. That means at a time 5 glucose molecules are broken with the help of glycogen phosphorylase, and this steps go on in this way. Steps go on and go on and go on. Finally you will see glucose 1 phosphate is converted to glucose 6 phosphate. Finally individual glucose molecules are liberated. Okay, so glycogenesis started. The first molecule was glucose and the last thing was glycogen. Glycogenolysis, first thing is glycogen and the last thing what we have is glucose. Okay, beta? So that is glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. Now see here, always there are certain rate limiting enzymes. That means as long as those enzymes are available, that particular cycle occurs. Okay, that means now he is also asking us what are the factors regulating, right? Then how is it regulated, isn't it? So now see, allosteric regulation of glycogenolysis and glycogenesis. Now I told you what are the main enzymes which are actually taking hold whether the glycogenesis should occur or glycogenolysis should occur. See here, in order to take for the formation of glycogenesis, synthesis of glycogen, we require glycogen synthase. Okay, so that means as long as glycogen synthase is available, glucose 6 phosphate is actually giving a positive feedback to this glycogen synthase. So as long as this enzyme is available, you will see glycogen synthesis will be taking place. Okay, that means glucose 1 phosphate will be converted to glycogen. Okay, now see here, we have glycogen phosphorylase. So where did this enzyme come, beta? Glycogen phosphorylase is one of the enzymes what we see as the first enzyme in glycogenolysis. Okay, that means this is for synthesis and this is for breakdown. This is first enzyme there and this is first enzyme in glycogenolysis. So in order to inhibit glycogenolysis, we require C, glucose 6 phosphate, ATP and liver glucose. They will not allow glycogen phosphorylase to work. That means they will prevent glycogenolysis. Whatever is positive, that means what? Muscle calcium if it is increased, AMP if it is increased, that means muscle needs more ATP, more energy. Obviously glycogen has to break down and it has to release glucose so that it can keep muscle working continuously. Okay, beta? So this is rate limiting reactions what we have. Okay. Then sickle cell hemoglobin. Let me go through all questions because as I scroll, I'm finding actually just now I saw hemoglobin chapter. Therapeutic enzymes, functions of cholesterol, Wald's visual cycle, functions of B12, metalloenzymes. Oh, see two questions from same chapter. Acute intermittent porphyria, PDH, pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. This we will find here only. Liposomes and SD, specific dynamic action. Okay. Pyruvate dehydrogenase complex we will see first because this is, I remember it is here only. Yes. Yes. Okay, PDH, pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. He has just asked for 2 marks, but it can come for 4 marks, 5 marks also better. Okay, what is this? See, first of all, let us understand what is this complex, then I'll show you. Pyruvate is converted to acetyl-CoA. Do you remember acetyl-CoA is required for many of the reactions? Citric acid cycle. We also see in fatty like ketone body formation. So many cycles where we find acetyl-CoA. So pyruvate is converted to acetyl-CoA by oxidative decarboxylation. This is an irreversible reaction. which is catalyzed by multi-enzyme complex, which is PDH, pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, which is found in mitochondria. This first definition you should give better. Okay, what is that? Pyruvate is converted to acetyl CoA by oxidative decarboxylation. Okay, pyruvate to acetyl CoA. Okay, for this, what do we require? PDH, pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. Okay, so the oxidative decarboxylation in the sense NAD is now converted to NADH plus H plus. Okay, CoA, here it is getting converted to CO2. So for actually, if it is for 2 marks or 3 marks, giving the definition and giving this formula will be enough, because as such you have 100 marks paper and you will be running shortage of time. Okay, whenever it comes for 5 marks, I will discuss much in detail better. Okay, anyhow, it will definitely come. And then, any question from here? No. Okay. Sickle cell hemoglobin. What is sickle cell hemoglobin? Here itself I found the chapter. What what goes wrong, beta, in sickle cell hemo? Yes, beta, here they are. Okay.
Glutamate is replaced by valine,
Yeah,
the
very good.
sixth position of beta chain.
Excellent. Nice. Very good. So in the formation of, basically in hemoglobin molecule, we have 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains, right? Okay. So in case of beta chain, see, this is the structure of a normal hemoglobin molecule. You are finding alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2. So in case of beta chain, normally we need to have like this amino acid, that is glutamine, but unfortunately we do not have a gene which is coding for glutamine. Okay, so the gene is miscoding in GAG, which is usually coding for this sorry, but this is glutamate, right? So instead of glutamate, what is coming now? GUG is coming, and in the place of glutamate you are finding what is coming now? Valine is coming. So
Valine.
normal hemoglobin chain is looking like this, that is adult hemoglobin A. Now the shape of hemoglobin is too much distorted if valine is coming and fixing in the place of glutamate. Okay, beta chain, sixth position is deranged, that is sickle cell hemoglobin. So what happens in sickle cell hemoglobin? In case of sickle cell hemoglobin, the property of normal hemoglobin is, that is the normal RBCs, normal erythrocytes, they are quite flexible. They are biconcave discs, so that when they move in small capillaries, they can easily come out back into the circulation without getting damaged. Okay, that is like a plus point of RBC structure. But unfortunately, in case of sickle cell RBC, due to this mutation, and due to this abnormal chain formation, the shape of RBC is distorted to sickle, the one which is used to cut grass, that shape. So this sickle shaped RBCs, whenever it is going and supplying the tissues, when it is passing through capillaries, it gets stuck over there and it cannot come back into the blood circulation. So when it gets stuck in the small capillaries, what happens? It is just broken. Okay, we know normal lifespan of RBC is 120 days. Now sickle cell RBC's lifespan will be very much reduced. It will work not more than 40 to 50 days. Okay, so once this RBC starts to break down, what happens inside the RBC? We have hemoglobin pigment. No, so this hemoglobin, it will uh, break down to form bilirubin and biliverdin pigments. So what happens if bilirubin, biliverdin pigments are rising in blood? We have what is that? Jaundice. And the jaundice which is occurring due to excessive breakdown of RBC, you call it as prehepatic jaundice, also called as hemolytic jaundice. Okay, unconjugated bilirubin levels will be high. So if you check with Vandenberg's reaction, it will be what type of positive? Is it direct positive or indirect positive, beta? I have some water.
I mean, which one?
Vandenberg's reaction in case of hemolytic jaundice, beta, that is prehepatic jaundice.
Indirect positive.
Very good. Indirect positive. What does it mean? Tell me.
That mean and It will give a purple diazo reagent color after addition of methanol, I think.
Okay, okay. That means you need to add alcohol.
Add alcohol for the purple color,
Yeah,
reddish
very
color
good.
to come.
Nice. That's very good answer, beta. Okay. Then we have one more question. It comes from here acute intermittent porphyria. What are porphyrias, beta? Abnormal formation of hemoglobin molecule, right? See, this is the normal synthesis of hemoglobin where we require succinyl CoA and glycine through series of steps. You will see heme is formed. Okay, so there is a condition which is called as acute intermittent porphyria. So that means here you have this enzyme. What is the enzyme deficient here? This one, uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase. Four parphylinogen molecules, basically, this is one parphylinogen. So, this is four parphylinogen molecules are joining gradually to form hemoglobin molecule, but unfortunately, this is missing, because of which, obviously, if this enzyme is missing, you will see the parphylinogen molecules will increase in blood and they get filtered in the urine and excreted, and filtered in the glomerulus and excreted in the urine, right? So that is acute intermittent porphyria. Uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase is deficient. Patient comes to us with abdominal pain, and you will see these byproducts, parphylinogen, through blood circulation. It goes through the to the brain and it gets deposited in the neurons also, damaging the neurons there, because of which person also presents with neuropsychiatric symptoms. Okay, that's what is acute intermittent porphyria. Okay. That is only for 2 marks here, beta. That means for you it will be 3 marks. Okay. Functions of cholesterol. From enzymes chapter, we have two questions. Oh, vitamins also we have one question. Vitamin functions of B12. What are the functions of B12, beta? What is the chief? What is the very important function of B12?
Hemoglobin synthesis. No, no, sorry, RBC formation.
Helps in the match growth and
It,
maturation.
it prevents pernicious anemia.
Very good, very good. Yeah. What is required for the absorption of B12?
Castle's intrinsic factor.
Excellent. Where do we find that intrinsic factor?
It is secreted by the um, intestine, found in intestine.
Stomach or intestine, beta?
Oh, it is synthesized by the Peptide cells, parietal cells, I think,
Ha. That means in the stomach, right?
in the stomach. Yes, yes,
Ha. That's the reason after gastrectomy, usually people will suffer with pernicious anemia, isn't it? So,
yes,
though
ma'am.
how much ever B12 you give orally, that is waste only, because there is no intrinsic factor available to absorb B12, isn't it? In such cases, then
Yes,
how
ma'am.
to treat? In case of gastrectomy, that is removal of stomach, your patient doesn't have stomach, then how do you deal with that?
Blood transfusion.
Or you can give intramuscular injection, because transfusion becomes little like like not so easy, isn't it? Simple
Yes,
thing,
ma'am.
we can give intramuscular injections. If deficiency is too much, we can give intravenous injections also. Okay.
Okay.
So vitamin B12, as Imad is telling us, it is basically related with pernicious anemia. So that's why it is called as anti-pernicious anemia factor. Okay. So basically, this is a unique vitamin synthesized only by microorganisms and not by animals and plants. Okay. So you see, basically in the small intestines also we have a certain bacteria, no, you call it as microbial flora. If you give antibiotics, microbial flora also will die. In order to replace microbial flora after gastroenteritis, that is loose motions, generally we give sporolac. What does this sporolac do? Actually, it will build up the bacteria back in the small intestines so that again B complex vitamins are synthesized there. Okay, this is one of such vitamins which is basically synthesized by microorganisms. Okay, beta. Now we are asked what are the functions. See, this is stomach, right? So B12 with the help of intrinsic factor, you will see it is getting absorbed there, isn't it? So let us see the functions. About 10 enzymes require vitamin B12. Okay, they have been identified. Most of them, such enzymes are found in bacteria like glutamate and mutase, ribonucleotide reductase. They require B12 for their functioning. Okay. So in our body, the two reactions which are dependent on vitamin B12 are this one. Active form of vitamin B12 is methcobalamin beta. So you are finding homocysteine is converted to methionine in the presence of methyl cobalamin. Here you are finding in methyl tetrahydro. That means one carbon transfer is also taking place here. Okay. Next, you also find this B12 is utilized for isomerization of methyl malonyl CoA to succinyl CoA. Okay. So the degradation of odd chain fatty acids. That means during fatty acid metabolism, we find this certain amino acids, valine, isoleucine. These steps are involved there, better. In these metabolic reactions, we see methyl malonyl CoA is converted to succinyl CoA, and here we require this enzyme methyl malonyl CoA mutase in the presence of B12. Okay, figure is given like this one, 7.38. You can learn. Okay, here we require this vitamin B12 here. So odd chain fatty acids, so many reactions are dependent on vitamin B12. Okay, so that is about the functions and deficiencies pernicious anemia. Okay. Therapeutic enzymes. We'll see which chapter we get in our search first. Based on that, I'll choose the question. We don't have any more questions from vitamins. Yes, enzymes we have. Therapeutic enzymes. Diagnostic applications of enzymes is nothing but therapeutic enzymes only. But there is one table for this. This is for diseases. Yes, better. Now, the question is therapeutic uses of enzymes, right? So, therapeutic means what? In order to treat certain diseases, we are making use of enzymes. For example, suppose if there are intravascular blood clots, very dangerous, no? So, if the blood is clotting in the brain, person may have hemiplegia also. To remove such clots, we use streptokinase. This is actually a bacterial enzyme. Okay, from streptococcus bacteria, we generally extract this enzyme, urokinase. Okay, in cancer therapy, we use this enzyme asperginase. It will not allow the cancer cells to multiply. To prevent inflammation, we use papain. Okay, and to prevent emphysema, this is respiratory disorder, breathing difficulty. Okay, a distension of lungs, we use this one alpha 1 antitrypsin because this enzyme is deficient there, because of which the alveoli will become incompetent and they will become bullous. This is actually seen as an essay question in pathology second year beta. Okay, this you will learn much in detail. In fact, microbiology we have streptokinase and all. So for therapeutic enzymes, you just have to know these details and just put in your own words. Okay, beta, that is therapeutic. And one more question also has come. Okay, that's it from here. Enzymes, metalloenzymes. What are metalloenzymes? Certain enzymes will have metals in their like cytochromes. Cytochromes, what do they have? They have iron, no, in their structure. So in their structure,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you find a metal, you call them as metalloenzymes. Like that, many enzymes are there. Ceruloplasmin, it will contain copper. Okay, so let us see where this list is given. It is only for 2 marks, but we will see metalloenzymes. This is classification. Oh, this is just starting point. You can also name if you remember few better. Will be a revision for all of us. Metalloenzymes. Enzymes. If I search like this, hardly I get up. So I gave you two examples, no, but a ceruloplasmin is one, which
And
contains
cytochromes.
cytochromes will contain
Cytochrome has
iron.
copper.
Cerulo
Cytochrome has iron.
okay. Are you with the page better? Did you open? Just read the definition once. Metalloenzymes. Enzymes which contain metals in their structure are called as metalloenzymes. And give few examples. That is for 2 marks. If you have opened the page, kindly read the definition of metalloenzymes.
Ma'am, which these metals hold the metal. These enzymes hold the metals rather tightly, which are not readily exchanged. Example: alcohol, dehydrogenase, carbonic anhydrase, etc.
Okay, what is the page number in your book, beta?
93.
Okay, I
I
think
think
this is.
yours is different edition.
Yes. Okay, but whatever we have discussed is the same thing, right? Yeah, here we have.
Yes, ma'am.
Enzymes hold the metals rather tightly, which are not readily exchanged. Okay, you have examples: alcohol dehydrogenase, carbonic anhydrase, alkaline phosphatase. Okay, anything, whatever is easy for you. Okay, phenol oxidase contains copper, pyruvate oxidase contains manganese, cytochrome oxidase contains iron and copper. Okay, so this is
Okay,
for
ma'am.
3 marks for you. Then, I should have told Wald's visual cycle when we were doing. Okay. Liposomes. Where do we see Wald's visual cycle taking place?
In the retina.
Yeah. Which vitamin? Vitamin
Vitamin A.
A. Vitamin A for vision, right?
Yes, ma'am. I think it's rhodopsin regeneration cycle.
Yeah. For Wald's visual cycle, you have to write this chain better. Okay, so this is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cycle which is taking place inside the rods for the purpose of vision. So what is happening in rhodopsin is a conjugated protein which is present in rods. Okay, rods and cones are specialized neurons what we find in retina, isn't it? So 11 is retinol opsin. Whenever there is a trigger of light, you will see it is converted to opsin and all trans retinol. That means this is aldehyde form. From here, it is converted to all trans retinol, or it can be converted back to 11 cis retinol. Okay, aldehyde. Al is aldehyde form, Ol is ketone, sorry, alcohol form. Okay, just check what are the enzymes involved and how it is related to vision. Okay, so this is Wald's visual cycle. Mm, B12 we did. Therapeutic enzymes we finished. Functions of cholesterol. We don't have many functions, beta. Tell me, what are the functions of cholesterol? But it has been asked for functions of cholesterol. It helps in the formation of steroid hormones, no? Can you name certain steroid hormones till I open the page?
Progesterone,
Very good.
estrogen,
Yeah,
androgens, testosterone.
excellent. Okay. Any more functions? Cholesterol. What is the transport form of cholesterol we have? HDL, LDL, VLDL, chylomicrons.
Lipoproteins, all the
Lipoproteins.
lipoproteins.
Very good. Which is the best lipoprotein among all HDL, LDL, VLDL,
High
chylomicron?
density lipoprotein.
Okay. Why they are called as good cholesterol? Cholesterol functions. Because they will contain more amount of protein when you compare with lipid component, 40% protein and 60% lipid. That's why they are called as good cholesterol. They don't get deposited inside the blood vessel. They are not prone to form plague inside the blood vessel, that is atherosclerosis and arteriosclerosis. Okay. Yes. Ah, cholesterol functions 309. 309 page. Okay, any more functions better cholesterol 309? Progesterone, eicosanoids. What do you mean by eicosanoids? Local hormones like progesterone, sorry, like prostaglandins and all. They are
Leukotrienes and
also synthesized.
prostaglandins.
Prostaglandins, leukotrienes, thromboxanes, all those substances also we require cholesterol for their synthesis. Let us see what is given here 309. It is structural component of cell membrane. It is precursor for the synthesis of steroid hormones, which includes vitamin D and bile acids also. Structure, it is a component of lipoprotein. It is transported to liver as cholesterol ester for oxidation. Okay. So we have covered everything. Sickle cell, therapeutic enzyme, functional cholesterol, all. Okay, shots done. Metalloenzymes done. PDS done. SDA, liposomes are left over. What is SDA beta? Meanwhile, I'll open liposomes. Liposomes. SDA we have discussed many times, Ritika. Can you please tell what is SDA? I'll open liposomes. Imachavi,
I
anybody?
think it is the
Specific dynamic action.
thermodynamic action of food.
Imad, let Ritika answer better. Ritika.
Specific dynamic action.
Yes. SDA. What does it mean, beta? Okay. Imad, you can continue.
Thermogenic effect of food intake.
Page number 40, I will open. Can you elaborate what is thermogenic effect?
Uh,
That means after eating food, slightly our body temperature will increase. Okay?
this one.
That is the that means once we eat food, you will feel it's little hot and all. No, that means that is after eating food, the heat which is generated, that is nothing but thermogenic effect. Okay, so that is the specific dynamic action of food. Okay, liposomes is this better. This has come for 3 marks. These are produced when this has come in which chapter? Lipids better. Okay. Okay. Produced when amphipathic lipids in aqueous medium are subjected to sonification. That means when lipids, if you are just exposing it to UV rays, they are intermittent aqueous phases in lipid bilayer. That means you can see some photogenic effect better. Okay. Because you see in combination with specific tissue antigens, they used as carrier of drugs to target tissues. Okay, that is liposomes. You can just write 4 lines about this. Okay. What was the last question we were discussing? SDA, right?
SD already done, ma'am.
Uh, all questions are done, beta, anyhow.
Okay, ma'am.
Specific dynamic action, if I find in scrolling, I'll discuss. Slight increasing in body temperature after eating food is nothing but specific dynamic action of food, and it will be more for lipids when you and proteins when you compare with carbohydrates. Okay.